Hi guys, in this video I will discuss crankcase evacuation systems, and I will show you how it works and how many inches of vacuum it pulls on my car, or does it pull any at all. So stay tuned to find out. Alright, now let me backtrack a little bit and begin by talking about PCV systems real quick, for those of you that have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about. Now, what a PCV system does is positive crankcase ventilation system. When the combustion occurs in a cylinder, excess combustion blows past through the piston rings into the actual crankcase of the motor, and then it goes back up through the heads, into the valve covers, and through there into a PCV system, and it gets carried inside back into your carburetor or your throttle body if you have fuel injection, and it gets burned inside the intake charge again to burn up any unburned fuel or whatever contaminants have you in that blow-by. Now that's for emissions purposes, so if you do something like this, it's not really emissions legal. You have to check with your state laws for that. So this is more for like off-road or drag racing or type of racing applications. So be aware of that when doing this mod to your car. Now, like I said, blow-by is pretty much moisture is in it, combustion byproducts like raw fuel, fuel vapor, and all of this could lead to sludge and oil contamination. So that's why you want to evacuate that stuff out of there. Vacuum also creates a better seal in the piston rings, so you get a little more power like that. Also, you get less oil leaks in your motor if you have a good vacuum system sucking stuff out of your crankcase. And if you're turbo guys, if you have high horsepower turbo, a lot of boost in there, more compression pressures leads to more blow-by, blowing past through the rings into your crankcase. So by putting a good evac system in there, it actually you don't have that oil spilling all over the place. You ever seen the oil breathers they have on the valve covers, and you have like oil splatter all over the place over there? You're not going to get that, and you have a place to route all the blow-by through. So your turbo guys have more blow-by. Now if you have excessive blow-by, it's also not good, because it could mean that your piston rings are going bad. So that's another thing to keep in note. Also, if you have a high compression motor, at high RPM, you could also have a lot of blow-by. And if you have a lot of blow-by, but it's normal due to a boost or high compression and high RPM, you might also want to explore a vacuum pump type of evacuation system, which you gain some horsepower at a high RPM also with that. So there's different routes you could take, not just doing an evac kit like this. Now let me show you what actually I'm holding here. I have the MOROSO part number 25900, and what that comes with is a tube here. It doesn't comes, and the tube is threaded. So what you need to do is you got to cut a 7/8 hole right past your collector on your exhaust, where the primary tubes are, right past the collector on your headers. So you drill that hole at a 45-degree angle. I use a step drill to do that. 7/8 hole again. So when you put that actual tube in there at a 45-degree angle, you bring it to a muffler shop or whatever, or you could weld it yourself in there. You just weld that tube in there. Then the threaded piece, you could put the check valve on. I will discuss why this here is a little different, but for now, just bear with me. And the MOROSO kit, these tubes also are cut at an angle over here, about a 45-degree, and there's also a slit here. Now when you're inserting this and getting welded, it should look something like this. This is the exhaust flow to the rear of the car, and these are your collectors here. This is your collector here, and this is your primary tubes from the headers. And you would want that to sit in there at a 45-degree angle like that. And that slit, like I said before, should be close to the edge of the actual exhaust pipe. And now what happens here is, as as exhaust flows this way, it goes through the actual slit here and out through the slit here and out through here, and it creates a Venturi effect which sucks everything through here. So that's pretty neat. And then over here I have a check valve, and I'll get to Teflon in a second. And the check valve here is a one-way check valve. In other words, it only goes this way when there's vacuum, and nothing goes this way, because if there's a exhaust backfire, it's not going to go back into your motor. So there's a rubber flap in here that prevents that from happening. Now, be careful and use a crankcase evac check valve, because if you use something off like an air injection system, say like off of a Camaro from an air pump, that flap in here will be much thicker and it won't be as sensitive to vacuum. It won't let the vacuum be pulled through because it's too thick. The flap, it won't overcome the vacuum, so it'll be closed and you'll get no vacuum. So that's, you always want to use, I'd recommend using check valves here that are meant for crankcase evac systems that pull a couple inches of vacuum. Sorry about that. And now let me go to Teflon situation here that I have. This Teflon over here I like to use yellow Teflon only because yellow is good for gas vapors and it doesn't leak. So this does two things here. One is it prevents gas leaks from coming out. It creates a good seal. And secondly, it creates an insulation between the actual tube that's built in the hot exhaust and the actual check valve here. So heat doesn't all transfer over this check valve and burn your actual rubber flap in here and create havoc. So there's two reasons why you'd use that, and that you could pick up in your Lowe's or Home Depot. Now over here you put a 5/8 inch heater hose. I use Insulone there as a hose. It's orange hose. That's what I like to use. And that hose gets routed to a oil separator which looks like a breather on your valve covers. Now if you don't have a hole in your valve cover, you're gonna have to drill one and put the grommet in and the oil separator in. Now make sure when you drill that hole there's no rocker arms in the way or oil holes in the way. So you have to make sure you clear everything when you drill that hole. And let's see what else I want to talk about. This here is a Dynatech part number 785-10095. This here. Now remember I said the actual Moroso kit just has the tube and the threads on here. Then you just thread this on that. Well, this extra little piece here that Dynatech makes is if you have already an O2 bung in your headers, which I do, and which I have capped off now. So you can actually use this. It comes with the pipe and this actual nut over here welded onto it, and the threads you could just put your check valve on. So this is pretty neat thing you could do there. You don't have to futz around with getting different pipes and different threads and adapters. Well, and this is all set up for you. The only thing you gotta do here is you gotta actually cut this at a 45-degree angle. It's a straight tube, and I also cut this slit in here. So this slit has to be facing the air which is going that way in the exhaust. Like I said, it goes through here, out through here, causing a Venturi effect. So that's what that looks like. Now I'm gonna go outside on the car and I'm gonna go underneath and show you what this looks like welded in, right past the collector. And I also rigged up a vacuum gauge to I took the actual heater hose off the breather, the oil separator on the valve cover, and I will show you at different RPM. I'll just show you at idle and at around 4,000 RPM how many inches of vacuum it's pulling, because I rigged this right into the heater hose. This is a vacuum gauge. You can't really read it too well. I'll go up close and I'll just show you when I'm doing it. And my car's kind of loud, so bear with me when I'm doing this. I'm also going to shut it off and tell you the results, so it'll be much clearer. So let me go outside now and show you underneath. This is it here. This is my white pipe here, my collector for the white pipe. I opted to put it here instead of the actual collector tube because on this car it's more convenient, so I just went this way over here. So that's what it looks like. It's welded at a 45 degree, and that's straight out back. The flow's going that way. That's the check valve. That's the heater hose with the hose clamp. And I'll show you up on top what it looks like. This is the heater hose, and this connects here with a hose clamp, and this is the oil separator. And one thing to note here, when you put this in, it comes with the grommet. Put some oil in the grommet because it's kind of tight to fit this in there, so you don't tear anything up or anything like that. And just make sure it's a tight fit. You don't want any leaks, any air leaks coming through here. So what I did here is I put electrical tape on my vacuum gauge, and I connected it to the actual heater hose here, which is connected in the assembly I showed you underneath. And I will show you now what that looks like. Now the car has electric choke, so my RPM might be a little high in the beginning, so bear with me here. And like I said, the audio doesn't become distorted because my car is very, very loud. I'm gonna shut the car off once I'm done, and then I'll tell you the results if you can't see it or hear it. So let me do that now. And give me a second or two until the RPM goes down, because the electric choke's gonna probably kick it up a little bit. Alright, so what happened was, at idle, around 850 RPM, 850 to 900 RPM, I was getting, and it was fluctuating from going from 0 to a little bit past 5 inches of vacuum on the vacuum gauge, and at 4,000 RPM, I was around 2 to 3 inches of vacuum steady. So that's not bad. And now you know what's gonna actually pull on your car. Now each car is different. Like I said, my actual car doesn't have mufflers, and it doesn't have a catalytic converter. It's just straight pipe going out in the back. So I'm gonna probably have a little more vacuum than, say, somebody with catalytic converters or a muffler on their car. Also, it will also differ of where you place it on the actual white pipe or the collector, depending on what kind of vehicle you have. The placement of the actual tube of the evacuation kit. So, thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel. It's free to subscribe, so just check that box underneath. You know you want to. And like me. Also, it's free to like me. And there's plenty of this clown to go around, so check that box underneath also to like me. Also, you could check me out at NewYork3rdGen.com. That's my car club that I'm at. And you could check me out there during the day. I frequent that forum. I am the clown. So you could say the clown sent you. That again is NewYork3rdGen.com. That's NYTHIRDGEN.com. And you'll see some of the fastest cars in the New York area. So thanks for watching and take care.